Congratulations, you've made it. This tells me something about you. I now know that you're driven to find financial freedom for you and your family. And because you have such great drive and desire, it's my pleasure to freely share with you what I know that the poor and middle class don't. It's called the power of residual income and leverage. Let's start with the definition. By definition, residual income is simply income that continues to come in long after the effort that we put forward has been expended. See, most Americans work an hour to get paid an hour. If they work an hour, then they get paid an hour. But if they don't work an hour, they don't get paid. The wealthy know that that's a prison, that you cannot get wealthy exchanging time for money, that you must find a way to produce some residual income, some income that continues long after the effort's been expanded. In addition, the wealthy also know that if you use leverage to move things, you can move weights many times greater than what you can move yourself. In other words, the wealthy understand that leveraging the efforts of others is the key to wealth. The poor and the middle class are stuck in what's called the time for money prison. You're probably very familiar with this scenario because you're probably stuck in it as well. This is where people pay you for your effort. Whether it's digging a ditch or performing surgery, people will pay you for an hour's effort put forward. So here's what happens. You put forth an effort. People pay you money for it. That money goes to pay your bills. After the money is exhausted on your bills, you must go back out and put more effort forward. You put more effort in to generate money, to pay bills, and you put more effort forward to generate money, and around and around and around you go. This is commonly referred to as the rat race. And you've probably been on this treadmill for many, many years. And you're probably even realizing that this is the definition of insanity, that you're not getting ahead, that you're at the whim of others, that you have no chance to get ahead financially when you exchange time for money. Very simply, residual income equals freedom. So, to generate residual income, you're still going to put forth effort. That effort will generate money, and that money goes to pay bills. But what begins to happen when you have residual income is every time that you put an effort forward, you also generate a secondary income called passive or residual income. This massive passive residual income that accumulates over a period of time begins to become the source of your income. Let me give you an example. Let's assume that you were a real estate salesperson and that you sold real estate. And when you sold a real estate, you got a commission of, let's say, $10,000 every time that you sold a home. But in addition to the $10,000 income that you received for selling a home, let's assume that every homeowner that you sold a home to was required to send you $100 a month for the rest of their lives. Now, when you sold your first home, of course, the $10,000 is way greater than the $100 a month. So you want the $10,000, right? It's logical. But here's what happens. As you sell home after home after home, and those $100 begin to compound, what happens is the $100 a month becomes your income. And eventually you're at a place where you no longer need to sell homes anymore. You've got these $100 payments coming in called residual income. And these come in every month and they cover all of your bills so you never have to work again. The key to wealth is how to generate a residual income for all the efforts that you're putting forward daily. The second component to wealth is called leverage. And most of us are familiar with certain forms of leverage that exist out there. Probably the most familiar one is the leverage that a CEO is able to achieve. Right, a CEO sits at the top of what's called a corporate pyramid scheme. And that CEO is able to leverage the efforts of thousands of employees to produce a spectacular annual income. So that CEO has various presidents underneath them and vice presidents and upper managers and middle managers and employees, right? And these thousands of people feed this corporate pyramid scheme where the guy at the top, the CEO, can make millions and millions of dollars when the average worker only makes several tens of thousands a year. So looking at a quick example, let's assume we took the CEO of Hewlett-Packard. They made $26 million in a single year. The average worker at HP, Hewlett-Packard, made $70,000 a year. So if you were an average employee at Hewlett-Packard, you would have to work for 371 years. Yes, I said 371 years. You would have to work 371 years to make what the CEO of Hewlett-Packard made in a single year. So why does the CEO of Packard make so many times, Hewlett-Packard makes so much more than an average employee? It's very simple. They found a way to achieve massive leverage. Now, $70,000 a year might be a good income for some people, but let me ask you, would you rather have $70,000 a year or $26 million a year? If you want the $26 million, you've got to produce massive leverage within your life. So let's look at our definitions again. Again, residual income produces income well after the effort was exerted. So let's do a quick quiz. If you work for a job, do you have residual income? No. Okay, you're in the time for money prison where your effort goes for money that pays bills and you go around and around and around with no residual income, no leverage, and no chance for financial freedom. If you write a hit song or movie, do you have residual income? Sure. You have royalty income. You get paid every time that movie gets played or that song gets played, and that's great. The problem is I can't sing and I can't dance. But if you found a way to get paid when people paid essential bills, would you have residual income? Well, of course you would. You would have probably the purest form of residual income that exists today. The opportunity to actually get paid when somebody has to pay an essential bill. Could you imagine getting paid when somebody turned on a light, cooked their dinner, made a phone call, watched television, or sent a text message? That would probably be the purest form of residual income that would exist in any form of business ever seen in the United States. Did you know that residual passive income is the equivalent of having money in the bank? Let's assume that you started a business for, let's say, $499. I know, it's ridiculous, but let's assume you could start a business for just $499. And let's assume that that business costs $149 a year to maintain. Did you realize that if you were able to produce a $15 a month passive income, it's like having $6,000 in the bank? In other words, $6,000 in the bank earning 3% interest will give you $15 a month, or you can find a way to produce a $15 a month passive income, which is the same of having saved $6,000 in the bank. Did you also know that if you started a business for $499 and you were able to generate a $15 a month income, that you're making 6% rate of return on your money? And did you also know that a willing buyer would buy that $15 a month income in perpetuity for $1,487? So if you were able to start a business for $499 that generated just $15 a month, it's as if you had money in the bank. What if you were able to start a business for $499 that generated $1,100 a month of passive residual income? Did you know that's as if you saved $440,000 in the bank? And you could actually sell that business for $109,000 plus? So again, residual income is like money in the bank. Here's what you can do. You can either find a way to produce a $20,000 a month passive income that is the equivalent of $8 million in the bank, or you can save $8 million in the bank and live off of the $20,000 a month that gets generated from that income. The bottom line is that residual income is like money in the bank. If you would like to learn about how today we've been able to produce a monthly passive residual income that on a monthly basis exceeds what I used to earn in a year as a 4-year degreed accountant and CFO of a hospital, then you want to enter your details below. See, I'm willing to share with you today the secrets of the wealthy. I laid it out for you. You need residual income and you need leverage. The only question is how are you going to get it? I have figured a way for the average person to enjoy both time and money freedom. In order to get this information, all you need to do is complete the details below and we will get back with you immediately. There's no cost, there's no obligation, just more information for you to make an informed decision for the future of you and your family. Thank you so much for being on the call. My name is Matt Rasmussen and I'm a Regional Vice President. I'm happy to share this information with you.